gotta do surprises, huh? Yeah. And everyone that's here, we're gonna give a few minutes so they can get the technology. No, we'll give you time to get it together. I hate to try to do it in the middle of the meeting. All right. Time now is 5:31. We call the Leesburg City Commission meeting to order. We ask you all to stand, and our invocation was led by the Honorable Mike Peterson, followed by a pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Okay, let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your many blessings. We pray that you will continue to bless this community and this great city. Please guide and direct this commission, our staff, this team, as we work together to make our city better. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. We have no proclamations tonight. Tab 3 is the presentations. Tab 3A is the spring games at Sleepy Hollow wrap-up presentation this time. Brother Travis.
Good evening. Travis Ryan, Director of Recreation. Allison just stepped out. Is there any way to flip-flop the presentations? She had to get something out of her car.
We'll move to 2 of the B. We'll go to 3B.
Okay, I'll make sure I get it.
Yes, sir. It's September 30, 2020, the CAFA review by MSL.
Jim Williams, Finance Director. I'd like to introduce Joel Knopp. He's an audit partner with MSL Auditors, and he's going to give you our audit presentation.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here and present an overview of the audit for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2020 for the City of Leesburg. I have a few slides to go over, some which are our required communications. I did provide those in a separate letter, so I won't go through those in detail, but the main point of that letter is to communicate whether there were any significant issues we encountered during the audit, any problems we had working with management, any lack of cooperation. So I'm pleased to report that we got full cooperation from the city as it relates to completing our audit, and there were no significant matters that created a complication other than the pandemic, as it disrupted obviously the ability to be on site as much as we had previously, but fortunately most documents can be provided electronically. We had to alter our procedures to some degree, but we're able to complete the audit timely, and that was due in large part to a lot of effort on the city side to provide us the records we needed in the format we needed. Yes, thank you. So I'll go on to the first slide that has services and deliverables. Just one more down. Yes, and so I just want to first point out the deliverables in our audit, which were our audit reports, the first being page 14 through 15 in the document, where you'll find our report on the financial statements. It was an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion that the financial statements are presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The next report on that same, reference on that same page, relates to government audit standards, and here we report any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies that may come to light as a result of looking at the city's internal controls over financial reporting and compliance that would be significant to the financial statements. That was also a clean report. There were no internal control findings or no compliance findings identified there. The services and deliverables on the next page is the report on the major state project for the city, which related to the aviation grants for the airport. Those were also in good order, no compliance findings or internal control findings noted. And then the next slide there is the independent accountants report and management letter related to Auditor General requirements. And the first one looks at the city's compliance with investment policy, and the second one references a variety of Auditor General requirements looking at financial condition, any additional control recommendations or findings. And so that was also clean reports for both of those and good results for the city. If you go to the next one, I'll go to the first financial highlights slide and just point out here the governmental activities and business type activities. This is looking at the financial statements in a full accrual perspective, which takes into account the long-term capital assets of the city as well as all the long-term debt. Since those numbers are so far away, I'll look at mine. So the important thing to reference here is in the governmental activities, you'll see an unrestricted net position. That's $4.8 million to the negative. That's primarily a result of the pension and other post-employment benefit liabilities that the city has that aren't offset by a related asset. Those, other than, of course, the net pension, the pension trust funds that hold the assets for the pension plans. But that was a slight decline from the prior year. A change in that position, though, was positive overall for at $3.7 million. The general fund, though, this is really the key operating fund of the city, if you go to the next slide. And here I'll point out the fund balance specifically. The unassigned fund balance was $11.8 million and a total fund balance of $12.9 million. It was a slight decline from the prior year, but the unassigned fund balance as a percentage of total expenditure is still a healthy 38.9% for 2020. And that was despite a $2.8 million decline in fund balance overall. The next slide kind of points out the budget actual operation results for the city. And you'll see here the city had a slight decline compared to budget of $400,000. You did keep your expenditures at a positive $2.2 million compared to budget. So there were cost savings that were generated primarily due to the having to make adjustments during the year related to the COVID impact. Net change in fund balance, you can see you projected to spend down $4.6 million, only spent down $2.8 million, so it was a positive budget actual result for the city. Other than that, there was one item we noted in our communication letter as well related to the building inspection, building permits fund, and that's just for the city to continue to keep an eye on the fund balance level in that fund, as there are statute requirements as to not maintaining too much of an excess fund balance in that fund. And I know the city's made efforts to reduce permit fees and spend down that fund balance, but just something to keep an eye on going forward. But beyond that, that's all I had to present for the audit. I'd be glad to take any questions that you all may have.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? Questions from the public? So thank you, sir, and thank the staff for working with you, and our staff will make sure we have a good audit. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Travis, has he found Allison yet?
Yep.
All right, we're ready for you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Allison Strange with the Spring Games, and I really just wanted to come and say thank you for everything that the city staff, the Leesburg partnership did to make the Division I softball games that we brought here to Leesburg this past spring a wild success. Obviously, there were tourism development impacts involved, and we are pleased to report we have over 5,000 room nights in Lake County just from those Division I games, which is getting pretty high up there on the threshold. So we were really excited about that, and we had nothing but positive feedback from the teams, every team that participated. So really, I just wanted to come and thank you and tell you that in our sport, in what I do, this is my 8th year running the spring games. It's our 14th year in business. Never have we seen a city turn around and be as supportive and as just willing to do whatever it took to make it happen. Everyone from not only the council, but also Travis, Stephen, his crew on the ground, and then, like I said, even the downtown partnership just came in and said, what do you need? We're gonna help make it happen. And half the time I had no idea what was going on because somebody else took over something, and it was great. So it was really wonderful. We did bring, I brought some goodies for each of you. It's just little, but I'll give it to the clerk so she can make sure you all get the right sizes. But we've got some spring game shirts. We had some letters from the coaches that we wanted to get to you to make sure you saw them. And if you haven't seen any of the videos that Lakefront TV produced on the event, we had just glowing reviews from some of the top coaches in the nation that talked about what a great facility it was and what a great event it was. So I want to make sure that you see those. And if Travis hasn't sent those out, I'm sure that he will. So that was really it. I just wanted to say thank you. Did I forget anything? Thank you 6 times is the biggest thing, I guess. And we'll definitely be back next year and the year after. So we're very excited about that. So.
And thank you for selecting Leesburg for your spring games, and for our staff. We can hopefully maintain the facility so we don't have to do as much next year.
Oh yeah, no. Next year will be nothing compared to this year. Yeah, it was, and the staff is wonderful. They really went above and beyond and just put their heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears, I'm sure, into those fields. So it was really great. And I know some of you came out, and so I appreciate that. It was really fun.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. Thank you.
Any commissioners have any comments?
No, I was going to compliment Allison and everybody again. I didn't know if Joni from the partnership or Maria from the Center for the Arts had anything to add.
Joni Smalley, Leesburg Partnership.
Maria Stefanovich with the Leesburg Center for the Arts.
So we set up a beer tent, but we also had an ambassador tent, and we gave out coupons, all kinds of stuff for all of our downtown merchants, and we tried to sell our city, and we had a really good response from people, especially from Big Ten, where we got to see 1 week to the next, and they really did come out, and they love our community, and we're really excited about next year and the years to come. They can't wait not to be in the bubble. But they complimented the way that our city handled everything. And then the weekend of the rain, they were very complimentary that we were able to come back and actually have the game that evening. Mm-hmm. So we're appreciative that we got to be a part of it.
Thank you.
I mean, ditto. There was several people that came back. Majority of our restaurants, I think, saw traffic. We sent several people to Cousin Vinny's, Mojo's, depending on where they were staying throughout the Leesburg area. And they all came back the next day with glowing reviews. So I think we did a fantastic job overall, the city of Leesburg, hosting them, and I hope they come back.
Thank you, ladies, for all that you do. Okay, the next section is section 4 is public comment. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future city commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, please. Are there any public comments tonight? Yes, sir.
Lay Brother Stephen Gerard, Vacation Address, 2928 Tangerine Court, Leesburg. Beloved Leesburg Mayor, beloved Leesburg Commissioners, and beloved Leesburg citizens. You'll be delighted to know that again, the Life Peace Zone banner was displayed down at the intersection of Leesburg Main Street and State Route 27 today for marketing purposes. And now the spill. Leesburg Commissioners, please be pleased to know that I recently attended the Fruitland Park and Lady Lake Council meetings this past couple of weeks. Fruitland Park is moving in the new direction of reviewing and updating its city charter. I now encourage Leesburg to also review its city charter after the rezoning for the village expansion. The new charter to be amended and should be amended with a new historic citizen overlay zone add-on to zoning. That's the new direction for pro-life in America. I've given you a 4-page flyer here. If you move to the next page, I've conveniently created what I believe to be a list of all churches in the city of Leesburg. That's for your convenience. I would like to introduce to all of you St. Paul Catholic Community, Pamela Dreyer, if she would wave her hand. She is part of the Respect Life Committee in one of the churches here in Leesburg, and other churches. I assure you are already hearing about this. I can attest that Salvation Army is also hearing about it. We know that the Father's House is celebrating its 25th anniversary this Sunday, but I will also let you know that in June, Salvation Army will be celebrating 5 years for its new building structure. If you move to the next page, the 3rd page, I give you what I call the recipe of success for Leesburg's future life peace zones. Let me just go over some of them. Citizens. We should continue to hand out light switch labels and Bible bookmark prayer cards dedicated to the new life peace zones. And of course, we should continue to speak at future public speaking. There's a few others too. However, I want you to pay special attention, wonderful commissioners. I feel it's very important that we establish a Leesburg pro-life interfaith committee that meets possibly quarterly, monthly, or as needed. I will let you know this has already been attempted in the United States because I travel the United States, and in particular, it has been successfully completed in La Mesa, California. They have their Flag Day Parade, and I paraded with the Life Peace Zone banner many years ago in the Flag Day Parade. Your city is the second parade that I've ever paraded in with the Life Peace Zone banner, the Christmas parade. So when Democrats, Independents, and Republicans, what they can't do because you're so busy, I understand, Citizens for Life and Peace, CFLAP, can do. Citizens need to realize that God Most High will be pleased as we delve into covenant theology of the codification, realization, promulgation, and implementation of life peace zones. And LPZs will constitutionally shine forth when established. Thank you for your listening ears. And I would also like to let you know that I've provided the 2013 copy of the Personhood Amendment for all of you. Maybe you can have a little competition, see how many signatures you can get for each one of your Leesburg districts. Jesus loves us all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment tonight? See no other public comment, we'll move to tab 5, which is the consent agenda. A routine item to place on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the staff or commission wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. Pull the item or items from the consent agenda, vote on remaining items with one roll call vote, discuss each pulled item by roll call. Are there any items to be pulled tonight?
I'd like to pull 5C8 and 5C10.
Five C, 2 and 3.
If there are no other items, we'll entertain a motion to approve the remaining items.
So
To
moved.
approve.
Second.
The moved and properly second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck, Commissioner Bury,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. First item is 5C2, is a resolution. Would someone like to introduce it, please?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
Thank you.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a month-to-month lease agreement with Import Sales of Lake County LLC, DBA Bill Bryan Kia, for real property located at the Leesburg International Airport and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second.
Discussion, please.
Well, I'm the one who pulled it, and first of all, I will say that I'm going to vote for it. I just wanted to go on the record. I know they're month-to-month leases. I know there's probably not a lot you can do with this property, but the lease rates just seem extremely low to me.
Yeah, I was gonna pull it as well if you hadn't, because based on what we sold the Jenkins property for, I don't remember off the top of my head, but wasn't it like 800,000 an acre or something?
So it was a big number, and these numbers come out to like values of like $10,000-$20,000 based on the income. So
Yeah.
it just seemed like a big discrepancy. I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the commission. Like I said, I'm not going to vote it down now. I just thought it was worth getting out front and center or out in the open.
Yes.
Hi, Tracy Dean, Airport Manager. Actually, the 15 cents is not all that low. Most of our aeronautical land is right at about 16 cents. That varies a little because it increases with CPI and not all leases are identical. The 15 cents is actually an increase on one of the lots, the Kia lot. It was put in place 2013, and it was considerably lower. The Bill Bryan Subaru one was newer under my watch, and I kept that at 15. We have two other ground leases, Jenkins and Phillips Toyota. Both of those were at 15 cents.
And these are the car lots.
Yeah, so right.
And that's where you see the disparaging number. So there is kind of a two-scale system in here. There's airfield prices, and there's that commercial. And there's that, I'm getting yelled at there. And there's that commercial zone, okay? So the commercial zone along 441. So the first one you brought up was Jenkins. So when we sold that, what was it, 5 acres or something to Jenkins?
7.
With 7. We sold that at a 441 market corridor rate. When we leased to Ruby Tuesdays, when we leased to the health center, when we leased to some of our other big leases along the corridor, we're getting more of a commercial rate. So those will tend to be higher. These are empty lots, and our history has been to lease that more at the airside price, which is 15 cents a square. But then you'll also note that these leases have a 90-day out clause. So that enables us to get a couple of coin for the property as a storage lot for the car dealers, and then it gives Tracy a 90 days notice window so that if we do sell or we get a higher value along the corridor for that lot, that's where we want to be. We pull the plug on the lease, and then we put the commercial rate in. So these are kind of holdovers.
Yeah, I just stand by my comment. It's highway property. I just feel like maybe we're leaving a little bit of money on the table, but I'll stop right there.
So I'm okay approving it right now, but I mean, this is on 441, correct?
Yes.
So it's on the corridor, so I think we probably need to, I don't know, I mean, we can talk to the airport board, but we should probably consider what we're going to do with this property, because it is much more valuable than what we're getting for it. It's corridor property. I know you say, well, it's different because it's not, but it is corridor property. We're just not releasing it as such right now. So maybe we should go to Bill Bryant and ask, about, are they interested in purchasing it? Because my guess is the answer is going to be yes.
And I'm assuming we want to hold on to this for future growth of the airport. I mean, I wouldn't want to see
I
us
think
sell it. I realize a lot of tenants would want to put, no one's going to put a building up there with a month-to-month lease. So I realize it's a strange situation. I was just playing with the numbers. Again, I think they're low, but I see the Airport Advisory Committee unanimously supported it, and I said I'll vote for it tonight, but I think going forward, I wouldn't mind digging into it a little bit deeper.
And I think historically, when the FAA was encouraged the city to purchase those properties, it was to protect people from building 2- and 3-story buildings. But I think we should, are we even marketing it to say to someone want to come and do a long-term lease on it, or are we just really saying we're getting $700 a month and we're helping the car dealers? And I think as Leesburg is growing, that core is going to become more valuable. So I think maybe we should go to the airport board and ask them for a strategic plan on what's going to happen on 441, what they like to see happening. Do we have a master plan, or are we just simply saying we'll get $700 a month on highway frontage, or could we say, can we construct something there and get market rate rent for the long term? So I think as Commissioner Peterson saying, it's okay for right now, but are we doing anything? Are we gonna be here a year from now saying, the best we can do is have a car dealership put 300 cars on frontage of property for cheap? And I'm sure they're not passing that over to the consumer and saying, I'm gonna give you a cheaper car because I got 300 cars across the street for $700 a month. So I think we also have to be a little bit more fiduciary in our responsibility as well. We got highway frontage. Of course, it's very convenient for car dealerships to park their cars across the street. But I think we should look at a master plan and actively market this property for future use.
I wouldn't want to sell the land. I mean, I think the airport's, a great asset, and we'll grow into it one day. And I'm guessing, I thought most of the land at the airport was purchased. I know sometimes there's grant money involved, so we can't sell it. That was the issue with the Ruby Tuesdays property and so forth.
Do a very long lease, good lease with a good tenant will be perfect. Anybody, any other comments, questions? All right, any public comment? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Bury,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. 5C3 is also a resolution. Someone like to introduce it?
I'll introduce to be read by title only.
Execute a month-to-month lease agreement with Import Sales of Lake County LLC, DBA Bill Bryan Subaru, for real property located at the Leesburg International Airport and providing an effective date.
Have a motion?
Move for approval.
So,
Any discussion?
Yeah, I pulled this. I understand we're going to get a $350,000 grant that is going to buy the necessary items that are going to go out there. But my question was, currently, what are we spending on that strip of land to maintain it, and then what are we going to be spending going forward on that same property?
Cliff, do you know those exact numbers? I know the maintenance number for that is a, are we on 3 or 8? Did you skip 3?
Yeah, I think
No,
we
we're on 3.
skipped one.
We're on
We're on 3.
5C3.
We're on Subaru.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
No, you're
I
fine.
was wondering if you guys lumped those
no,
together.
I
went right to 8. Sorry
It
about
sounded like an 8 question, and I was waiting for us to be
That
on
was 8.
3.
Cliffy gave you a little head start, Cliff, so
Yeah.
get ready.
Sorry
Mike,
about
you
that,
pulled
Jim.
that one, Mike?
So I'm the one who pulled this one, and I don't, my comments on the prior one apply to this one as well, so I don't have any additional comments.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission? From the public? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bury,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. 5C8 is a resolution. Would someone like to introduce it, please?
Yeah, I'll introduce that one. Be read by title only, please.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a joint participation agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation for landscaping improvements along State Road 500, US 441, from Sleepy Hollow Road to Airport View and providing an effective date.
Discussion. Commissioner.
I'll repeat that if I need to. But I'm just curious about the cost that we're going to incur going forward, maintaining that.
Right, currently, we spend around $400,000 a year on all the media. That's the 441 corridor, that's like the 441, 27 Main Street, that's Dixie, that's all the way out to the airport. This would probably add another $40,000 to that. So, we're in the neighborhood of around $450 a year. The other piece of that puzzle is it's a $350 grant. Brandy, what was the number on what we were going to budget for CIP for 22 if we get this? Was that $500,000? Or did we already have that program? So it's 250 plus the state money. So our capital, the match for the 389 is 250. So if you opt not to do this, what you do is you turn back the grant, the corridor stays basically in its same condition. You save 250 in capital, and you save the 40 reoccurring. And that's an estimate. The 40 is.
My question also, you know, the spread of land that we're looking at there is not exactly a big populated area for Leesburg. It's kind of a barren strip through a little bit of a swamp, and I'm just questioning, do we really want to spend beautification money there?
I think that's really a commission question. I know each year when these have come up, I think we started out on these projects in certain areas extremely very positive, wanting to do Dixie, wanting to do the 27, 441 triangle, if you will. As we've moved forward in other areas, kind of some of your support for these have been starting to weigh. So I really think, I think there is value in improving the corridors, but I also think at this stage, if this is something the commission wants to not prioritize, then your vote should be no.
Yeah, the kind of the same feelings. My feeling was that we should have stopped at the airport, and I voted against the extensions since then. I just think that it would be nice in a world of unlimited money, but there's so many areas in the city I'd rather see us spend this money on beautifying, and if it's here, we're, you know, by the time it's done, if we go all the way down 441, we're gonna, you know, be spending, you know, $1 million a year on maintaining that from the mall to Canal, and at some point it just gets kind of out of control, I think.
What is what are the plans gonna cost us to put together for, I think the grant excluded the plans for the irrigation and,
That would have been part of our 250 max.
okay.
So the only comment I would make, I agree with Commissioner Burry, but about a year ago, I inadvertently, because I didn't understand the project, torpedoed and the redoing right there at Dixie and 441. You know, I misunderstood how much fencing was being done and so forth, and I got that thing all off track, and I regret it. Would the grant money apply to that project, or does that not qualify?
We might be able to shift it back around.
Because,
And if you were going to kill a project, and let's not use the word kill because that's negative connotation. If you were not going to do a project and reallocate funds, this would be the project that I would recommend not to do. The Dixie corridor, I think Commissioner Burry is kind of spot on. This is more of a rural type of highway area of Leesburg. So yeah, okay, I can see not doing that. The Newell Hill area where that fence and the other Dixie project was, that would be a project where I would, you know, so the answer to your question is, I don't know the answer. We can go back and you guys can table this if you want. If you want us to do some homework to see if we can shift it to the fence, then I'd recommend table it before you kill it. If you don't want to do either one, then I would say just vote no.
well, I learned a lesson that night. I should have asked more questions, and I kind of torpedoed that project before I fully understood it. And then once I did understand it, I thought it was probably money well spent. I didn't realize it was on two sides of the road. I didn't realize how much fencing was
I think that
involved.
project number was like 350, and we
Right.
were going to pay for it with cash, so without any grant help. So this may be a project they would fund. I don't. My knee jerk is it's worth an ask, but I wouldn't be very optimistic.
Okay.
Cliff, do you agree? Just a nod, yes, no? Yes, he agrees.
Well, my vote would be agreeing with Commissioner Roebuck and Burry, you know, against what the 441 project. I'd like to resurrect that, you know, the issue there at 441 in Dixie. Every time I drive that, I regret my comments and my vote on that one.
So would you prefer to table it and see if, let staff come back, or you just think it's
I would
not
say
gonna happen?
I would say go ahead and reject this, and we'll go back. I don't think the DOT is going to approve that, but it's worth an ask. So I would recommend with the comments that the commission's provided is to go ahead and not execute this JPA, and then Cliff and I will go back. We'll talk to DOT and see if we can find some grant monies to do the fence project.
Public comment. Roll call, please.
Do we need a motion to table?
No, I think
not
they're
yet.
going to do that.
Commissioner Peterson?
Voting yes to table it.
Oh, you got to make a
Tabling
motion.
or-
The motion is to approve.
Yeah.
On
Okay,
the
then
floor.
I vote no.
Commissioner Connell?
No.
Commissioner Roebuck?
No.
Commissioner Bury?
No.
Mayor Christian?
No. 5C10 is a resolution. Would someone like to introduce it, please?
I'll introduce to be read by title only.
Thank you.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an impact fee credit agreement between the City of Leesburg and Bentley Ridge Holdings LLC and providing an effective date.
Have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and properly second. Discussion? Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
I asked for this to be pulled. Last time we had good discussion on this, and I'm of the opinion, especially with the value now at 200,000, that I don't see a benefit for us to be giving money to the developer in this case.
Any other commission comment?
So I was initially very much against this, but after talking with Al and thanks to Commissioner Cannell's comments on the last meeting, it sounds like either we're going to get the $200,000 from them or we're going to spend it ourselves. And I like this deal much better because now they only have until September to do it. They got to spend the money and then they get it back only if they build the project over time. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, Al.
Yeah, that's correct. And just if I can interrupt, the discretion or the discrepancy that we had last meeting when we tabled this was 200 or 400, what's the cost? And the part that Cliff and I didn't communicate on is the age of the existing lift station. So what we did in this agreement was we went back to do a few things. One, be an encouragement to the developer to start redeveloping that subdivision, because I think it's reasonable to say that that's a blighted area. So if we can give any encouragement to do that, we should. The second issue is, well, at what cost to the city? So our existing cost right now is zero. However, what's there is an existing lift station that's old, 30-plus years or so. It has not had issue, but it's old. And if it was regularly in our system, and so I say this because probably back in 10 years ago, the lift station division would have scheduled this for a change out and upgraded the pumps and done blah, 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 blah. That cost to us is $200,000. That's not a bells and whistles lift station, but it would be a lift station to replace an aging one in the system, and that would be about the cost. And that one would be targeted for replacement in the next 1 to 3 years. Okay, we had that thought 10 years ago, and we didn't replace it because Bentley Ridge was being proposed back then, and Bentley Ridge stopped. So for 10 years, we've kicked the can down the road. So knock on wood, whenever you talk about kicking the can down the road, it blows up, and when you just let it be, nothing would happen. So that, having said all that, we probably would, if Bentley Ridge does not develop in the next 1 to 3 years, we'd be looking to spend around $200,000 to make sure that that lift station doesn't blow up. In the interim, we did an old agreement back when that started that said if you build, you need to build this lift station that was scheduled, it's $400,000, that was scheduled to replace ours and put into capacity. Developers agreed to do that. They built half of it. The developer stopped development. The new guys came in, they bought that infrastructure, and they have what they envision of about $200,000 expense to finish off the new lift station, dedicate it to the city, then we'll decommission the old one. So essentially, this is a quid pro quo for us. There's no cash that would change hands. It would be an impact fee credit up to $200,000 to encourage the development. And then we put in the added caveat that if this isn't developed by September 1 this year, the deal's off, And then there's a time frame that they're only eligible for up to $200,000 of impact fee credit for a 5-year window. So if they, in 5 years, they've only built $100,000 worth of impact fees, they would only get $100,000 out of the deal, not 200. So there's a window there too. I think it's a reasonable one that works both ways for the city and the developer a little bit. But also, there's that's one of the things the commission needs to decide. It is a give and take. If the city does nothing, we can bank that development will come along and fix that. We keep all the impact fees, and then that goes to the development. So there's pros and cons on each side, and it's really at this point a legislative issue. If you guys want to do the deal, or if you don't, then vote against.
Just a clarification, just to make sure, because I know we had a pretty lengthy conversation. If we give them the impact fee credit for the wastewater, they have till September the 1st to finish their lift station.
Correct.
When they finish that lift station, it's going to be oversized, so we would not have to put the 200,000 of improvements into our existing 30-year-old lift station.
Yes. The new lift station is built by the developer, oversized to accept our current capacity plus theirs, and then that comes to us. And if that all happened by September 1, we would decommission the old lift station and have a brand new lift station.
Yeah, and that's why I went from being like 100% against this to now okay with it, because I think it's a very unique situation. Typically when development's coming in, if they don't build the project, we don't need the lift station. This is a kind of an odd one where we need the lift station whether they do the project or not.
I won't argue against myself. You are giving up $200,000,
Right.
in essence, okay? You are, because you're giving up $200,000 of impact fees. The whole development probably is scheduled to bring in about $290. I think it's like 168 units at about $2,700 each is the sewer impact fee. So you are giving up $200,000, but you're ensuring that that hopefully that gets built. You're putting a timeline on it, and essentially you're paying up front for the fix of the lift station. So you're giving up $200,000.
So Al, did you also say that there was a previous agreement that we were going to do this with the previous developer?
The previous developer was on the hook for developing the whole thing and paying the impact fees.
So
They were told to upgrade it, to build this size lift station, to fit the whole community, and pay your impact fees. And that was done in a 2007 type of economy. And some may argue we're back to that. And so I understand the other side of the argument here, that if you say no, you'll be on the plus side. I think a no vote here is probably reasonable. My recommendation from this is because it has been a troubled subdivision. Hopefully, it guarantees that it removes the blight. It's an improvement that we're probably going to have to make sooner or later, and it puts a September 1 timeframe on it. So I think those are reasonable caveats, but I certainly understand and respect the other side, which is you're taking $200,000 out of your pocket.
I guess the flip, if they decide not to build, then you still don't have $200,000. You got to aid in the lift station. So if it breaks in 3 years, they don't build.
But then my guess would be that, I don't want to argue for Commissioner Burry, but I'm sure he'll say, but eventually that'll get built and the money will be there.
Kind of sat there for the last 8 years, deteriorating though.
Well, that's why you have me recommending it. So, but I respect the position. I mean, I before you guys vote, I think we have now fairly flushed out both sides of the equation.
Yeah.
One more question. You mentioned that the lift station's like half built, this upsized one. Is that accurate?
Yeah, sub half built. The tank's in there, some other parts are in there. They got about.
If they walk from the project and we don't give them this deal, can we finish that to end up with the upsized lift station, or do we have to go back to redoing our old one?
That would probably be one of the things in our sleeve to do, is to, if the existing lift station blows up, we would probably go to the developers and say, hey, let us finish it, we'll finish it off. You take it over early, it'll cost us 200 grand, and then if that develops, we got 280 coming back from impact.
Because I'm more comfortable with that, getting the $400,000 lift station, even if we have to, the upsize one, even if we have to end up paying for it. What makes me very nervous is the idea that we don't do this deal and we end up fixing an ancient lift station that I don't like.
My guess is that we will probably kick this can down the road a little bit until that thing starts really showing some bad signs.
Okay.
And then when it does, before it blows up, we would go to the developer and say, why don't you give it to us? That would be how we approach the fix.
I'm comfortable with that option.
If I'm a developer, I say, yeah, I'll give it to you for $275,000. As a developer here, is someone representing the company, they're not here tonight. Any other discussion from the commission? Discussion from the public? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
No.
Commissioner Bury,
No.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. 6 is public hearings. 6A, 1 is our second reading. Someone like to introduce it, please.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, implementing the will of the electors of Leesburg as expressed in a referendum approving the amendment of Article 1, Sections 8 and 9 of the city charter to create 5 single-member districts for city commissioners, establishing new district boundaries based on updated census information as to create districts which are reasonably compact and roughly equivalent in population, establishing a staggered schedule for the election of commissioners from the various new districts, providing a savings clause, repealing conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date.
Have a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion from the commission. From the public. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Bury,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. Item 6A2, someone like to introduce it, please?
I'll introduce to be read by title.
Thank you.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 31 plus-minus acres from PUD planned unit development to PUD planned unit development to allow for multifamily apartments for property generally located south of East Dixie Avenue and west of South Lake Street, as legally described in Section 25, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Yes, sir, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning Manager. At the last meeting, the commission asked that some changes be made to the apartment size, so we've gotten an agreement that all apartments will be a minimum of 800 square feet. And then there was a request, and I don't believe we talked about it last time, for Section 3B land use to make the maximum height on the apartments 4 stories, which was their intent, instead of the 3 that was shown. And I believe I mentioned the 4 in the agenda memo. And that was it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Burke.
There was also a mention of deleting the expiration date. Is that
Oh,
it?
yes, sir. We've been going back over our plan unit development zonings and deleting these expiration or phasing clauses. Over the years, what we found is all they do is bring a zoning back every 4 years when none of the surrounding conditions or properties have changed. And it causes a great deal of grief in terms of public hearings, the staff, and the public, and we've never gotten a benefit out of it. So we've asked that we're deleting those out of all our future PUDs unless there's a reason to keep one, which at this point we have not seen one yet.
Dan, was there vertical height?
I'm recommending 45 feet or 4 stories being the vertical height.
Okay. And any adjacent property owner responses back to the
No, sir.
notification?
No, sir.
Is that standard 45 for 4 stories?
Yes, sir, we can play with that height a little bit, but generally, a story's gonna run 10, 12, 13 feet, something like that.
Okay.
Depends on the architectural design.
Any other commission comment?
So my concern is on the minimum square feet. I know now we said 800 instead of an average of 800, but, you know, I don't really want a 4-bedroom 800 square foot apartment there. That was my concern, is I really wanted to see square footage per bedroom unit.
We could work something in there if you'd like. Mr. Bob Colvard is here to represent the property.
Yeah,
If you
and
any
I don't have
specific
a
questions.
number, but if they have
Sure.
something, what they're planning on, then we can get it in there, that way.
Okay, we can do
My
that.
concern is always when someone sells the property and then the intentions change.
Mr. Colvard will come up and we can discuss that if that's okay.
Yes,
Your
sir.
Honor.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, my name is Bob Culvert. I'm representing the owner of the property tax development. Yeah, as one of the things that Mr. Miller and I discussed after the last meeting when y'all brought that up, and I sent him some proposed minimums for each unit. I had 700 for the 1-bedroom units, and I think it was, I can't remember now off the top of my head, but I just re-emailed him today that list. But it was somewhere around $850 for the 2 bedrooms, and then I think it was like $1,000 for the 3-bedroom units. So we did set some minimum standards. It was brought to my attention today in a conversation with Mr. Miller that it was y'all's will that you wanted to see nothing less than 800 square feet, and fine. I mean, our original concept had the 1 bedrooms at $750, and the 2 bedrooms, I think, were at $975, and the 3 bedrooms were like $1,150. I'm doing this from memory, I apologize. So those numbers really aren't anything that would concern me. The reason that we initially suggested the 800 was if you did a senior development where it was only 1 and 2 bedroom units, it would be difficult to have a minimum average square footage without a 3-bedroom unit in there to compensate for that. That was the reason for that. But if you would prefer to have a minimum for each individual bedroom size, I'm more than happy to.
And
oblige
just
that.
on his note, Dan did inform me of the conversations that went back and forth. And I'm the kind of the one who said no, 8, because, and the reason for that was because I thought the 1-bedroom minimum was still below the commission threshold. So what the offer on the table was, and these were your numbers
Okay.
to me from Dan, it was 700 square for 1 bedroom, 850 square for 2 bedroom, and 1,000 for 3 bedrooms.
Right. And
So I
that's-
thought the commission's response to that would be that 1 bedroom was 700 was a little low.
I
Unless
actually don't have a problem
unless
with
y'all
those numbers.
Yeah,
accept the
and
offer.
that's fine, thank you for bringing that up. I didn't have that out. And the reason for those numbers was just to leave some flexibility. The actual concept plan that we have in place right now, all the units are larger than that. I just didn't want to hamstring, if we don't happen to move forward with our development, I didn't want to hamstring a future developer, you know, with something with a different design. But I have no issues at all with making the minimum 8 and then the 2 whatever and the 3 whatever. No problem.
So if you go, so on that list, if you go, and if this helps you, Commissioner, if you go 800 for 1, 850 for 2, 1,000 for 3, that would be good with the commission?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with the way
And if-
he proposed them. I don't have a problem with the 700 square foot 1-bedroom apartment. That's not a small apartment. So, but, and then I would also want a stipulation in there that there'd be a max of 3 bedrooms per unit. Because right now there is no maximum, as far as I can tell.
Well, like I said, the only reason that if I'm understanding you correctly, if you make the planned unit development one of the conditions that there has to be some 3-bedroom units in,
No.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No, I'm just saying that if any 1-bedroom needs to be over the 700, any 2-bedroom over whatever the 900 you said, and any 3-bedroom over 1,000, I don't care how many units of each type you put in, and but there would be no units over 3 bedrooms.
Oh,
So-
correct, yeah.
So
no.
that's my whole. I'm not worried about your project. I'm worried, like you said, it doesn't happen. Someone buys it and says, "Okay, I'm going to put in a bunch of 4-bedroom, 800 square foot apartments,"
Right.
and that's what I don't want to see.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree, I completely agree, yes. Yes, I think there needs to be a minimum for each bedroom size, not just a minimum period. I agree with that concept, yes.
So I would make a motion to adopt the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom square foot minimums as proposed by the developer to Al, and add that a prohibition on any units having more than 3 bedrooms.
Which is 700, 850, and 1,000. 1, 2, 3.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Oh, and if I may, just to reiterate the request on the 4-story, the reason that that came to be, when, in our original meetings with Mr. Miller, the original PUD that was on the property was 4-story at the time. The concept design that we turned in was only 3-story, and therefore he went, oh, okay, 3-story, that's fine. Here again, the 4-story is, to leave it in there is just to not to hamstring a future, potential project.
We have a amendment. We have a second to Dan's amendment first.
Second.
All right, Commissioner Peterson. Yes, sir.
And the only question I had, I'm just trying to help you out, 4 stories, is 45 feet enough height?
Yes.
Okay.
Any discussion on Commissioner Roebuck's amendment? Everybody understands it? All right, let's roll call that, please.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. Okay, now we'll go back to the main motion. Any further discussion on the main motion from the public? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck, Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Item 6A3 is an ordinance. Someone like to introduce it, please?
Introduced House Bill by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, vacating 212.38 plus minus feet of right-of-way and consisting of approximately 4,884 square feet, generally located on the east side of Barrett Avenue, west of lots 15, 16, and 17 of the Harlem subdivision of Leesburg, Florida, and providing an effective date.
I'm gonna pass the gavel to Mr. Peterson so he can carry this motion, because I have to abstain from it. So we need a motion in a second. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you. So can I get a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
So I'm glad we're doing this, but I guess my request would be, in some of these older neighborhoods, as other projects are going on, if staff, I think, finds stuff like this, is it something that they could just bring to us to fix? I mean, I feel most people aren't going to have the resources that the CDC does, especially in some of these older neighborhoods, to kind of bring forward something like this to us to get it even done. I don't know that it's a huge issue, but.
I know we ran into the same thing on East Street, same type of thing with older neighborhoods, the city right away just rent right into the front yard of the house. And you only really figure it out when you're ready to do something. Some of those old subdivisions, people aren't really doing developments, and then you maybe run into a time crunch. Somebody tries to buy the property, then you run into this. So I think Commissioner Roebuck is saying we see these issues, we just need to try to clean them up as quickly as possible.
Any other comments from the commission? Comments from the public? Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peterson.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Okay, item 6A4 is also ordinance. Someone like to introduce it, please?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, modifying the conditions of approval for a SPUD, small plan unit development zoning, on approximately 0.21 acres for property generally located south of West Main Street and east of South Moss Street, as legally described in Section 27, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Have a motion? Motion approved?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion from the commission? From the public? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. Item 6.5, C5, also ordinance. Someone like to introduce it, please?
Introduced House Bill by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, modifying the conditions of approval for a SPUD, small planned unit development, on approximately 0.43 acres for property generally located south of West Main Street and west of Oakland Street as legally described in Section 27, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Yes, sir. Mr. Miller?
Mr. Chairman, this is the Smedley Garage project. Met with the applicant prior to the meeting. He,
Oh,
That's the next one.
That's the next one.
That's
oh,
the
I'm
next
sorry, thank you.
I was wondering, I said, okay, you acting like Commissioner Byrd, now you ready to go home. Tim was saying, man, what's going on? Any discussion? We have a motion to approve that one. That's C5.
Move for approval.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Any discussion? From the public? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bury,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. Okay, item C6. Ordinance, would like to introduce it, please?
I'll introduce House Bill by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, rezoning approximately 0.28 acres from C1 Neighborhood Commercial to SPUD Small Planned Unit Development to allow for a mechanic shop for a property generally located north of West Main Street and west of Lone Oak Drive, as legally described in Section 27, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
You have something for us, Mr. Miller?
I think I'm here at the right time this time. Mr. Mayor, I met with the applicant on this project, the Smedley Garage, just before the meeting, and he asked for a 30-day request. They weren't able to get the two parties together as requested by the commission at the last meeting, so he asked if we could move it to the second meeting in April.
Okay. A motion to table to the second meeting in April? And the commission would like to table it?
Be April 19th.
April 19th?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, as I think through this, Dan,
Sorry.
I thought C1 zoning would allow for
26th.
this. I guess,
April 26th.
Actually, it does not specifically.
okay.
So,
So it's a motion to second the table?
You just need a second.
You making the motion, right?
He did.
Okay. Do I have a second? Anybody gonna second it?
Will you stick the date in that table just because there was a public hearing, just to be safe, so we don't have to re-advertise? Is that correct, Fred?
Yes.
Table till April 26th. Regular meeting.
Okay. You good with that table?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion? In the discussion, we can't discuss the table, so roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
No.
Commissioner Bury,
Yes.
Mayor Christian.
Yes. 6B1 is our first reading. Someone like to introduce it, please?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, rezoning approximately 6.64 plus minus acres from P Public and R3 High Density Residential to SPUD Small Planned Unit Development for property located north of East Dixie Avenue and east of South Lake Street, as legally described in Sections 25 and 26, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
This item will lay over. Any discussion from the commission? From the public? This item will lay over to our next meeting. There are no non-routine items, no information reports, our financial reports as of January 2021. Anything staff would like to update us on?
We're square.
Nothing? Okay. City attorney items.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. City manager items.
Nothing.
Nothing tonight. Thank you, sir. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bury,
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Peterson,
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Connell,
No.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Nothing tonight.
Mayor Christian.
I just want to just say on behalf of the Men of Distinction, we thank the city commission, the city, and the many sponsors, Leesburg, and residents for the Leesburg Black Heritage Festival. It was a little windy, but we had a overall positive response. People social distance. We gave out hand sanitizer, masks. City staff did a wonderful job out setting up stage and providing the barricades. Just very pleasant to work with, and I think we did had a very good job. Dr. Jasper, you were one of our committee members. Do you concur? Thank you. Thank you. And also Dr. Jasper doing a face mask and hand sanitizer campaign where she was actually walking through the neighborhood, and she's actually knocking on doors with a team of people. So you may see her through the neighborhood passing out masks and hand sanitizer to those hard-hit areas, people that may not have access to it. CDC supporting her, and so we asked if you see her, don't call the police on her. So she's passing out hand sanitizers and masks. Also, the Resource Center, the hospital, and the CDC has teamed up, and we encouraging more doses. If you have anyone over the age of 50, they'll be at the Resource Center on Friday. So if you have relatives, people who couldn't get access and want to need a vaccination, please have them call the Resource Center. They're collecting names. We're trying to get 200 people on Friday to get the COVID-19 shot. So if you have anyone who may have an issue, may have a need, please have them call the Resource Center. The UF Health, CDC, and some of the local people are bringing them to our community to try to get those people who may not have access to computers or be able to make an appointment. So if you know anyone, please have them call the Resource Center. That's all I have tonight. Thank you. Motion adjourned.